Te reo ererangi o te mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Hello and welcome to Voices Unhindered. I'm Crystal Jenkinson. On this show, I give a unique perspective and listening ear to voices that often go unheard. I want everyone to know that you are not alone and that your voice and story matters. This week on Voices Unhindered, I'm speaking with a yoga teacher, health coach and personal trainer, Jo Jarden. Jo shares about how her experience with grief of losing her mother led her to reevaluate her core values. Looking for purpose, she started doing yoga through being a fitness junkie and shares about her perception, experience and teaching of yoga. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Crystal.
Could you please tell me about your upbringing a little bit and what was your family life like growing up?
Sure. Yeah, so I grew up in Wanganui in the North Island on a farm, so really grateful to have as my background. So actually on a farm called Fordell just outside of Wanganui. So sometimes we'd have, animals around the house, deer that would get out, a few farm dramas. I feel really lucky that I had supportive parents growing up. When I think about my background, sometimes I think about how I am now compared to my upbringing. And so I think this is relative to everyone in that there's always amazing things about our upbringing and there's always little gaps, things we wish that might have been different. What we can do is take the opportunity now to sort of re-parent ourselves. And I guess this kind of idea of, giving yourself now perhaps the things that were missed when you were younger is this beautiful opportunity to grow and evolve as an adult. So when I think of my past, I think of it pretty great. And also there were areas where, as a sensitive soul...
What do you mean by sensitive soul? Could you explain a little bit?
Sure, yeah.
Because I saw your writing and your blog and I was like, that's...
It took me a long time to realize that I am sensitive, so I feel deeply. I'm compassionate, and growing up I often got told, why are you crying? I was always crying.
Oh, that's sweet.
I think there's a lot of people like me. I'm realizing that sort of we can't understand why we feel so deeply, and so now I've spent a lot of time in my adult years researching this idea of sensitivity and empathy and being an empath, and I understand more about myself. So now I see it as a strength. And one way I got into yoga actually was realizing that my strengths of sensitivity and compassion and warmth and relating to people helps me as a yoga teacher. It's not a weakness, but being sensitive means we really do need to learn how to look after that quality as a gift. So otherwise, we sort of end up quite drained and depleted and...
Sorry to interrupt. Have you struggled with, for example, like narcissistic personalities taking advantage of you because you're quite empathetic?
Right, yeah. So when it comes to other people around me, what I've realized through my own personal growth is that, yes, sometimes we notice other people might take advantage of our sensitive qualities, but I tend not to label people so much, but more take responsibility for how I can respond. So,
like boundaries?
Yeah,
have
I
boundaries.
love it. Yeah. So boundaries for me is something that has been a work in progress.
Oh, yeah.
I think learning, first of all, that sensitivity is not a weakness, that it's a strength. And so with these people that, you could call boundary bullies, if you like, sometimes they don't see our strengths. And so I think part of our growth is to notice where you can take time away from these people and use strategies to really look after yourself. So I don't think it's so much about toughening up, but smartening up and taking time away from these people.
And just going back to your childhood, did you want to expand on anything that you feel like was lacking? Was it, like you said, your parents were great and supportive, but was there anything in your upbringing that you feel like you've needed to reparent yourself? Do you mind expanding on those things?
Yeah, sure. So, look, I think I'm certainly not alone in this, in that we have these stories that we carry around from our upbringing, and not just our upbringing, but from our world around us, like the culture. And so often these stories relate to lack and scarcity and limitation. So we take on stories about who we should be, who others have wanted us to be for them. So perhaps, for example, as a sensitive child, maybe you learnt to please others as a child. So growing up, I've learnt that quality was a really good survival mechanism when I was younger, because I wanted to soothe some of those, dysfunctional family dynamics, if you like, because that was my gift, was being sensitive. So I wanted to soothe everyone else around me, but at the cost of my own growth. And so as an adult, I've realised that's not really helpful, that quality to keep pleasing others and not put yourself first.
Yeah.
But I will caveat that with saying I'm not blaming my parents, because I also don't think blame is helpful. So they were doing the best they could do. And there were also lots of other great qualities that my parents brought to me growing up.
And when did your passion for health and well-being begin? Like you said, realising you were sensitive and caring. Is there more than that, or is it just, did you know you wanted to be a personal trainer and a health coach and a yoga teacher?
I love these questions. Thank you for being interested.
No, that's okay.
I really think that the reason I became a yoga teacher was because I went through, a lot of growth in my 20s after some difficult experiences. So like a lot of people, I think we only really start to ask the bigger questions of life. What am I here for, and what are my strengths, and how do I live in alignment to my truth? So when I was 29, my mum died suddenly, and that was sort of like a really challenging time for me. So I went through this sort of, like anyone would, a phase of kind of just feeling pretty low and needed a lot of help. So I went and got, therapy and did all the things. And then after many years of still feeling pretty low, I realized, maybe there is another way. And so that's when I finally got curious about helping myself, if you like. So that's when I got into learning to calm my mind. So doing it myself. So the challenging time of my mum dying, and actually a couple of aunties around the same time, that all actually sort of shook my foundation. And I share some of this at my retreats, and people really seem to resonate that it's often only when a crisis happens, if you like, in your life, that you're willing to go a little deeper. It shakes our foundation. And so didn't happen straight away. I spent a few years feeling pretty low, and then realised, okay, I'm sort of sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I got into a little bit of yoga, and I started getting curious about the personal growth path. So I would say, looking back, actually that challenging time was all a gift. Weird to say it like that, but it really propelled me into getting interested in learning to regulate my own emotions. How do I feel more joy? How do I feel inspiration? Like I was going, so I call it my past life now. I was in health promotion.
Oh, yeah.
So I studied at Canterbury Uni and followed the path and, went to good schools and went to uni and got a good job, and then thought, now I need to have kids and and do all the things. And I'm not saying none of that is, bad or anything. It's more like I was still feeling unfulfilled. There was like this void of unfulfillment, even though on the outside you would think I was probably quite successful. And so that's where, the death of my mum sort of prompted me to ask myself, the bigger questions of life. And so to answer your question, that's how I got into yoga, was through challenge. And I'm grateful for it. Yeah.
So how many years have you been like a yoga teacher or doing yoga?
About 12.
Oh, yeah. I'm not trying to work out your age, but
10 to 12. It's fine. It's fine. You can guess my age.
I know that people don't. Were you like a student of yoga, or like, how did you like start? Did you just like, were you just curious and then you started to like I want to teach this, or like?
Yeah, actually, I was pretty anti like sitting on a mat and crossing my legs and meditating.
Oh, yeah.
I was really not interested. In fact, quite, I repelled the idea of that. So I would say my entry point into yoga was through the gym. So I was involved in, it became pretty popular for a while in something called CrossFit. You might have heard of it.
Yeah.
And so I was living in Australia for a while. And after Mum died, I just went to that because it gave me this feeling of something positive to focus on, and I'm grateful for it. And then after a certain amount of time, I think I was looking for something a little deeper, like how come my mind is still, not at ease? And so that's when I got curious about yoga. So I went to a mindfulness course first of all.
And what did that teach? Like, what does it teach? Like in a mindfulness course, do you mind me asking?
Yeah, this was just up in Auckland. I went to, it was just advertised, and I was just a bit more open-minded. And they taught us about the mind and how it is possible, first of all, to train your mind.
Oh, yeah.
To be more positive. And I think that on its own is pretty enticing.
Yeah.
And just this ability that we have to focus on, what's going well in our life, and that we can nourish our heart and feel a more,
Was this connected to yoga, mindfulness, or is it a kind of whole separate?
Yeah, it's all very connected
together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yoga, I would say, is a form of mindfulness. And so,
does that mean meditation, or does it mean just like being aware of like your mind? Or
yeah, these are such good questions because they are really common words thrown around, and people are very confused about what's
I hear
what.
them, but I'm like, what does it mean?
Yeah. I'll do my best to clarify, if you like, from my own experience. So mindfulness is simply paying attention, and paying attention to yourself with a quality of kindness. And so that's being mindful. So when you're moving your hand through the air, you're noticing your fingers move through the air. So what's not being mindful is like, I can't remember where I've put my cup of tea, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's
like consciousness? Is it kind of like, or
yes.
awareness, kind of like that?
Yes, yes.
Is it connected to enlightenment? I don't know.
Beautiful. You know all the words. I love it.
I'm a word bank now.
Yeah, no, I love it. You're really digging into like the essence of yoga. So the yogis would say that, consciousness is.
And do you mind just saying what a yogi is right now?
Yeah. Well, I throw that word around, I guess, myself, but I use the word yogi, I guess, referring to someone who is kind of interested in the space of working on personal development and growth. And
it's like a student of yoga, kind of.
Yeah, it's not so much like a either in or out. I think it's probably a word for like, sometimes I use it in regards to the ancient yogis. Like there's some ancient sutras and things, and people who've studied yoga for thousands of years, and I like to go to some of the yoga.
Sorry, I just interrupted you before. Do you mind like going back to what you were going to say?
I love it.
Because you're like, the yogis would say, and I'm like, what's a yogi?
We're on some rabbit holes. I love it. So what am I explaining? Remind me.
Oh, you were explaining about like, because we were talking about enlightenment, and then you're like, yes, all the right words, and you're like, the yogis would say.
Yeah. Okay. I think what we're touching on here is that it's possible to be mentally free.
Oh, yeah.
Of things like anxiety and tension and the ruminating mind. And so to be conscious or to be free of that mind that's really worried about the future or ruminating about the past is to be present, is to be aware. And that's explaining our ability, this ability to be the witness of our experience. So when you're witnessing your experience, you're not taken over so much by your emotions. So you notice there's like two parts of you. You notice your breath, the cool air entering through your nostrils. You notice the sensation in the nostrils, but you also are aware that there is the invisible part of you noticing it. It's getting quite deep now, but this is getting to...
Is that to do with the universal soul and the individual soul? Sorry, I'm just...
Beautiful. Yeah.
So, I researched a little bit.
I love how curious you are. So you could use words like soul, consciousness, spirit, awareness, you could use them interchangeably.
I see.
Because what we're talking about here is the invisible part of us. So when we're born, we have the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the work of Wayne Dyer. He's passed away now, but you might have heard of him. And he really beautifully explains this idea of the invisible part of us that's noticing it all. So there's the body, and then there's the invisible part of us that's noticing
We're a
it all.
spiritual being having a physical experience. I've heard people say that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so what I would call living with purpose and living from the deepest part of you or your spirit, whatever religion or background you're from, I think we all know that we want to feel a sense of fulfillment. And to feel a sense of fulfillment, in my eyes and my experience, is to live in alignment to your truth, your core values, not what the external world says is a good life. And I would say most people don't know themselves. So that's the starting point of personal growth, of yoga, is to know yourself. Who am I? And what are my unique gifts?
And how did yoga help you to find out more about who you are? Do you mind me asking that?
Sure, yeah. I just think through struggle, I know I go back to that, but often people only change. We're only willing to change when things get really hard. So cognitive behavioural therapy, I like some of the one-liners from some of that, the psychology and
because you studied psychology, eh?
I've studied it over the years out of my sort of thirst to find this evidence-based practices and things. So in CBT they say, your desire to change must be greater than your desire to stay the same. And that's the essence of personal growth. You're only ready to take a leap of faith to change once things, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, because I really think, our culture is really wanting to create such a comfortable life, but really we want to create a life that's meaningful, and a meaningful life has challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, it was about how did yoga help you to know yourself? Like how did you, because you're talking about knowing ourselves, and how did it do that for you? That was the question, but I think you kind of answered that. So
I love it. A lot of these, I love that it's all crossing over, because this does happen with the yoga wisdom. It does all overlap, so this doesn't surprise me. We're going down all these
rabbit holes
and overlapping. It's beautiful.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Voices Unhindered with Crystal Jenkinson. I am speaking with a yoga teacher, health coach, and personal trainer, Jo Jarden. Jo shares about her experience with the grief of losing her mother, led her to reevaluate her core values. Looking for purpose, she started doing yoga through being a fitness junkie, and she shares about her perception, experience, and teaching of yoga. And what are some interesting facts about yoga that many people don't know? Do you want to just throw out a few? I don't know if you have any off the top of your head.
I like that. The first thing that comes to mind is that yoga is about fancy poses and back bends and beautiful toned bodies and lycra on Instagram. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit here. And it's not that all those things are bad, but yoga is actually not so much about performance and appearance, and more about connection to yourself and fulfillment and inner joy and peace, so that we don't need to grasp for it externally.
Yeah, and are people quite surprised to know that? Is the perception, is the cultural, global perception of yoga different from what it actually is? Is that what you were trying to say?
I think that's such a beautiful comment, because actually I think at our core we're all thirsty for it. We're all thirsty for meaning and fulfillment and inner peace, because our modern world is, keeping us believing, especially in our Western world, that you'll find happiness and joy from, the relationship, from being wealthy, from having lots of followers and being popular, and over time we still feel unfulfilled. So I think people are thirsty for it. So I actually think they're not surprised. And what I find from teaching, I've taught at many gyms over the years, which often is quite body focused, and I bring in a mind and body and soul, if you like, focus. And I get a lot of good feedback, and I've become more and more brave to share what I think is, some of the deeper teachings of yoga that people are really thirsty for.
Yeah, and did you learn about some of this on your, where you went to study yoga to become a teacher? Was this in Bali?
Yeah, so I did my yoga teacher training in Nusa Lembongan, a beautiful island in Bali. So it was a bit of a destination experience. Actually, it was so hot. It was about 40 degrees and it was really uncomfortable, which was all part of the experience. I chose a bit of a crazy time of year to go in December or something. But I was just really motivated. So it was a really, really great experience, my teacher training. And I would say the real growth I've had as a teacher has been over the last, sort of 10, 11 years since, where I've been really committed to my own growth as a person. And so that flows through with my teaching. So what I like to say is I live and breathe what I teach, not just teach the yoga and then go back to not in alignment to my truth. So I've taken some big risks in my life, and I'm happy to share some of that with you too.
Yeah. Do you want to share it now? Or
Sure. Yeah, as I was talking, I just thought of the fact. So when I was 29, and I said earlier my mum died suddenly, I actually went through what some people would call an awakening, but it's a little bit sort of popularized, that wording now. So basically, I just, if anyone is listening and has heard and has lost someone close to them, it does sort of make you realize life is short.
Yes.
And I'm going to really live my life. And so, the death of my mum made me realize I want to make the most of my life. And I questioned, I was in a health management job, and I wanted to just feel more joy and inspiration in my life. So I sold everything I owned.
Oh, wow.
I quit my job and I bought a van. This was like a while back before van life was popular.
You're definitely an entrepreneur.
I know everyone's buying vans these days, but I lived in my van for a while, and I was nervous about it. I was scared, but I was a little bit more curious than I was scared to take a leap of faith and just have some time out and to practice some self-care and just to see what might come of it. So it started out as a bit of an experiment for 3 months and ended up being 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So I lived in my van for 7 years and ended up house sitting, and I've written blogs on that. It's a bit of a story on its own. So I know that's quite out there, but it did, especially with my upbringing, On a farm? Well,
sorry.
but also, I was brought up by really hardworking baby boomer parents who wanted me to have like many baby boomers, a better life than what they had growing up.
Yeah.
So for them, it was having a good job and having stability, and that was success. And for me, that made me feel miserable.
That's interesting.
So I went and started living creatively. And it wasn't just the van life itself. It was more like testing some of those ingrained beliefs I had around what is true happiness. So even like being in my own company and not knowing how things were going to pan out, stepping into the unknown, doing something that was a little scary. Yeah.
And did you have any idea that you wanted to be like a health coach at the time or a yoga teacher? Like, were you just...
No.
Did it all just come afterwards?
Definitely didn't. Oh, wow. I definitely didn't go out to be a yoga teacher or a health coach. Definitely not. I was just so thirsty to feel better. I just wanted to feel better. I just felt crappy on the inside, and I was really...
Was that part of grief, or was it like prolonged grief? Like, I don't know if there's a such thing called prolonged grief.
No, that's a beautiful, beautiful question, because that gets me thinking about the fact that, yes, I think I was, going through what they might call as grief after mum died. That would be normal. But also I now can see that things like loneliness were already inside of me before she died, and I didn't know myself as a sensitive soul. And so all of that time after she died, where I was, feeling like my foundation was rocked, that really opened me up to this personal inquiry to challenge some of those thoughts about what type of person I am, and do I need to get married so I'm not feeling so I don't feel lonely anymore? And is that actually what I want? And I'm not saying that marriage is wrong or owning a house is wrong or, having a good job is wrong. It's more like just starting an experiment to try and understand myself and aligning my daily life with what, my true values are. And so I realize I'm a creative person, and as a sensitive soul, I need a lot of time on my own. So these days I get a lot of fulfillment through yoga and interacting with people in a meaningful way. So for those other sensitive souls out there, shallow talk doesn't really fulfill us. We need like deep talk.
Yes, I'm so like that. I just can't do shallow A. Like I just gave up a long time ago. Like, the how are you? And then it's like you don't really know the person and they don't really know you. It's just like, you don't really go deeper than that with some people, and then others you're just like connect way on a deeper level, and it's you know what I mean.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. So to answer your question, I think grief can be this amazing experience. I know that sounds weird to say, but can really open you up if you're willing. And sometimes it's only when we're really struggling that we're willing to go a little deeper. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like when I lost my grandma, she passed from cancer like 5 years ago. When me and my daughter lived with her, she was like, we were so close. And like, I realized that my foundation was shaken. I was like, what am I going to do without her? Because we talk all the time, and it's just, it makes you reevaluate your life kind of, and like what, what you see, like what matters to you, and reposition yourself. And you kind of like, my whole identity was kind of in her. It sounds really weird, but like, like being with her, like, because, So, yeah.
That doesn't sound weird to me.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were just so super close, and it was just weird. Not that it was kind of like we were married. Not in a weird way, but like, we were just so close. Soul-tied, kind of.
Yeah. She sort of was a big part of your world, and with her not on Earth's side anymore, does it seem like you're starting to ask questions of yourself, like, who am I without my nana?
Yes, like I've experienced a lot of growth since she passed. As in, not, you know what I mean? Like I kind of found myself more after she passed, because she was kind of like not like a crutch, but like kind of like a crutch. I don't know how to explain it.
I love this. I mean, I could talk about this for ages, but like sometimes, like when my mum was alive, I used to love going up to the farm and just in my university holidays and lying on the carpet in the sun. And it was like this little safe haven away from the chaos of the world. And when she died, I didn't have that place.
Exactly.
And I felt so lonely, because everyone else had a mum and I didn't. That was the story I had in my head. And so what I know now is, what's in the way is the way. And so that feeling of loneliness was the opportunity. And so spending time on my own in the van allowed me to actually enjoy my own company and it sounds corny, but love myself, because most people don't enjoy the person they are and find it hard to be in their own company. And so sometimes we can get dependent on others, and I'm not saying, it's bad to have a relationship with your grandma and all that. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also the opportunity when they're no longer on Earth's side to go, how can I offer that to myself?
Yeah.
So that when we come into another relationship of whatever sort, that we have something to give.
Yeah, so much of my life, my core values and stuff were built, I was raised by her, so she was there all right for a season, and part of who I am is what she put in me, and then she's gone for a season, and then I'm on the next season, and it's all development, but like it's a different kind of, I believe people are here for a reason and a season, and then they go, and then.
Yeah, I love that. She gave you a lot by the sounds of things. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So do you mind me getting back just to like yoga questions? I know we're talking about quite a broad range of things, but like how is yoga different? Like how would you describe it being different from like Pilates or like, I kind of know, but I don't really know.
Yeah, great question. So if you think about a yoga class, yes, there is movement and there's poses. And then the poses have a meaning as well. So the poses aren't just a
stretch.
movement. Yeah. So the poses, the asanas is the Sanskrit word.
Oh, yeah.
So the ancient Indian language that gives each pose meaning. And so that's where I would say it's different. So the poses, for example, like a tree pose will help you feel balanced and centered and calm in your mind, but also strong in your body. So mind and body benefits, so that you can asymmetrically strengthen one side of the body. But also, if you think about a tree in everyday life, so a tree can sway in the wind, but at its core, it's really strong. So we're developing our ability to be strong no matter what comes along in life. So the poses cross over to everyday life.
So like there's stories behind each of the poses, eh?
Yeah, that's what gives it stories meaning. Yeah, and if you like
Do you tell the stories like why you're stretching with like your group or whoever you're training? Do you say like this is the meaning of this pose and this is very... I don't know.
I try to. And so at our teacher training, we're always taught, first of all, to, describe how this will benefit you, because people want to feel what's the point of this. Yeah. So a class, we want it to flow. So we can't spend like half an hour explaining the pose unless we're in a workshop and unless someone asks. But it's quite an art to deliver a yoga class, as all yoga teachers would agree, because you do want to offer them an explanation, but you also want them to just feel the benefits. And so at the end of a class, one of the most well-known poses is Shavasana, which is corpse pose, where you soak up the benefits of the class. And actually this is what you could call the real purpose of yoga, is to be able to relax and to reduce the fluctuations of your mind. Chitta, vritti, nirodha is the Sanskrit. So really yoga is about calming the mind, and it was developed thousands of years ago by young men. So the poses were intended to get them out of their heads and into their body to prepare them for meditation. So that's how I would say it's different to other classes, in that we have this objective to feel the sense of inner peace, which I would say is our true nature and what everyone is looking for.
So that's interesting. You said that some of the poses were back in 5,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Were to prepare them for the practice of meditation. Is that
right.
correct?
Perfect.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So that's quite deep. Do a lot of people know this? Do you think? When they come into your class, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes I share it directly, but I don't know that you need to know it. I think the main thing is the present moment, and that we feel the benefits. And I think practicing it is enough.
Like you said, when you first started yoga, you're the last thing I wanted to do was sit on the mat and meditate. And it's, how did you get around that?
Yeah, being a fitness junkie, actually.
Yeah.
So I was, a fitness junkie, if you like, and I got into yoga flow, so the vinyasa style of yoga, where it is quite physical.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a good entry point. I don't think there's anything wrong with that for others that are kind of curious about yoga but don't like the idea of sitting in stillness. So that was my entry point, and I went to Bali multiple times and enjoyed the yoga barn, if anyone's been there, and it's a pretty magical place just to experience lots of different teachers and the nice feels of the Balinese people and the beautiful sounds of the...
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you quite a blunt question? Okay, so...
Go for it.
Would you say, because I've heard this, would you say that the poses are worship poses to various gods, Hindu gods?
I wouldn't use the word worship myself, but maybe other yogis would.
Okay,
so
I see what you mean.
I wouldn't use those words so much. I know of other teachers who run courses that sort of do explain some of that aspect of yoga. Yeah. So my perspective of it is, and the way I like to deliver yoga, is to help people reduce stress. So sort of bringing it into the modern world, but still respecting the ancient sutras. So, yeah.
What's a sutra? Do you mind me asking? Like a teacher?
Oh,
a guru? so many names.
It's the ancient scripts of
Oh,
yoga.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so...
Is there like a whole textbook on it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so yoga has these values. So there's some yoga values that kind of cross over into, just living a good moral life. And so there's sort of 8 limbs to yoga according to the ancient sutras. And one of the 8 limbs is the asana, so the poses, and the breath, the pranayama. So you might have heard of those words. And then the other of the 8 limbs relate to living a purposeful life. And so living with simplicity and non-attachment to things is bringing us happiness. And some of these beautiful, this dialogue we've already shared today actually aligns to the Yoga Sutras. And I have run courses in the past on the 8 limbs of yoga. And what I've found through my last sort of 12 years of researching the well-being science as well as the yoga is that the science really aligns now to the yoga. So things like, the well-being science about how to calm your mind and move your body and live in alignment to what brings you fulfillment and knowing yourself. And
how does the origins of the name yoga, the meaning of it in Sanskrit, meaning to yoke, does it also mean unity?
Yes.
Because I was just looking at that.
You know so much about yoga.
Well, I used to I used to do it when I was really young, like I told you. But I did it. I can't remember a lot of what I read, but I did kind of go quite deep into it to the point that my grandparents were quite concerned about me.
Right.
Being away from, everyday life so much. I kind of got into a little hole kind of.
That's interesting.
Yes, that's kind of why I say that I'm not so into it now. Yeah. But I do like stretching and things like that, because I've always been quite flexible and athletic. So that's kind of probably why I started it. But yeah, I didn't realize kind of the whole, I guess, the spiritual elements to it. And that was something that, I guess I only learned through reading and studying a bit more.
Yeah, I think what you're touching on here and is this idea of people being a little bit resistant to the idea of spirituality, which I totally understand. Yeah. I felt like that as well. And the way I think about yoga, I love that word unity, unity of body, mind and soul. And I'm very careful with that word soul. Yeah. Some people also find that difficult. So what I talk about is, the deepest part of you looking for fulfillment, living with purpose, the part of our life that is invisible but we want to bring it into the world. How can we contribute to others from our own life experience, from our learnings? And so this is, what the wellbeing science is living a happy and fulfilled life. And so I think we can, if you like, not even have to talk about, spirit or soul if you like. So just choose words that work for you, that resonate with you. That's what I say to people. And in terms of, what is yoga, in the end, it's feeling a sense of happiness and peace and fulfillment. So
because everyone's perception of it seems quite different, eh? There's quite a lot of different perceptions about it. Have you noticed that? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in our modern world it's been turned in some ways into something that, is just about the physical body. I definitely see that part. And so what I do is I make sure I offer what I think is the part that help people the most. And from my experience, it's not just about the body, that there's more to us than just our body.
Yeah, so true. And do you include your practice, your yoga training in your other elements of what you do, like your health coaching and personal training? Is that separate, or is it do you include, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not separate. It's all the same thing. So I have a yoga studio in Maryvale in Christchurch, and I do private sessions now, so less big classes and more one-on-ones, and that's really beautiful because I offer a mind and body approach. So it's a mix of coaching and yoga and personal training. So what I offer is basically a mind and body approach to feeling more fulfillment, and I get people from all walks of life, senior executives, mums, young people, people struggling with things like, eating disorders, people just who have got to a stage in their life where they've found, the things they were told would bring them happiness no longer are. Some people that don't like the idea of a regular gym and want to find somewhere to get stronger where they feel they can talk about their whole life, not just like parts of their life. So, it's a beautiful holistic approach. Some people come for relaxation. They just come and lay down and I give them an eye pillow and we do meditations and breathing. And I think that's quite beautiful because there is, for some people, nowhere in their life where they can have space. Yeah.
Do you mind expanding on the concept of unity or like connectedness? Like, so how do you incorporate that into your practice? Like teaching people how to connect? And what are you connecting? Does that make sense? Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I'm sure there's many other people who could explain this much better than me, but I'll do my best.
No, you're very articulate.
We'll see how we go. So it's nice to think of what is not feeling unity. So when you feel disconnected, it's like I feel like I'm thinking all the time and I'm never present, or I'm always worried about the future, or I'm ruminating about the past. That's more like when we feel low sort of emotions, and we feel more anxious when we're worried about the future. Or if we're not moving our body much and we're sitting on a chair looking at a screen all day, we don't feel alive. So we don't feel connected to our body and we don't feel lightness of heart. So unity, I would say, is when we're looking after all those parts of us, our body, mind, and soul, the deepest part of us looking for fulfillment. So unity is our ability to reduce the fluctuations of our mind, to feel more physical vitality, and to live in alignment to our truth. That's my best explanation of it.
Cool. And do you mind me asking, back to your yoga training, did you train under, what did you call your teacher? Do you mind me asking? Were they like a shaman or like, I don't know, do they have a religious name or something?
The teacher training I did was called Santosha Yoga Institute.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had a beautiful teacher called Sunny. She's actually from Tasmania in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
So you've probably seen there's so many yoga teacher trainings around. So as long as they have the correct accreditations, I would say find a teacher that you align with. And I get lots of people asking me about what teacher training to do, and I always say find something you align with. You don't have to go to Bali. Actually, what matters is how you live your life after that as well. Are you really willing to live and breathe this? Because when I go to a teacher, I want someone who's this word is overused, authentic, but I want someone who really is living with purpose and meaning and contributing to the world and experiencing the struggles of life and, looking for solutions-based ways to help themselves to be responsible. And I think it's really hard to find people who are really living in alignment to these values.
Yeah, do you mean just in the area of yoga teachers specifically, or do you mean like in the area of life? In life.
Both. Yeah, both. Both. Yeah, I know there's many great wise people out there, and I have to say I have had to look online and found, I like to find, pretty good resources to make sure I'm getting information that is pretty steady. So, I think it's important. If you don't have the right people around you, there is some good things online. Dare I say it, go online. But I guess that's the beauty of our world. There is options.
Mm-hmm. And what have you learned through health and well-being, especially through coaching and like one-on-one, working with people one-on-one?
What have I learned? So much. That is the beauty of all of this. It's continual learning. So my students are my teachers.
Yeah.
Every person that walks in the door has their own unique struggles and things.
Yeah.
And what have I learned? So much about myself. I'm always evolving. Like every year I'm reassessing. Like I started off as teaching in gyms, and now I'm about to take 6 months off from all my events and offerings pretty much and just write a book.
Wow.
So I'm always learning and growing and soaking up wisdom from people much wiser than me, and it's my life's purpose to share that with others and contribute to the world meaningfully. And I realize maybe it's time to put it down in writing, so I'm going to do my best with that.
Do you mind me asking, like, in your yoga classes or maybe in others, obviously they're all different, but like, would you do chants, like saying anything in a different language with people that you work with? Like chanting, like praying or meditating or saying something in Sanskrit or...
Yeah, I don't do so much of that.
Yeah.
Every teacher has their own type of offering and ways they've learnt. So the way I teach, yes, I share the Sanskrit word for the pose.
Oh yeah.
I don't do chanting or mantras, but I have beautiful retreats where there are mantras are great for getting us out of our head and into our body. So this is the purpose of it all, to get out of our head and into our body. So some people find mantras really helpful. I'd like to explore that more, actually.
Yeah.
That's something I could learn.
So, do you not know like enough about it to do it, or do you just choose not to do it, or because people don't know why you're doing it?
Yeah, probably more that I've found ways that are working pretty well for me.
I see.
So physical activity on its own, walking the hills. I mean, I call that yoga. For me, just like you're getting out in nature is pretty powerful. So I've found ways that have been working for me. Yeah, and so maybe if I travelled to, say, India, I'd certainly be open to learning some mantras. I think it's a real exploration of finding what works for you.
And is this something that you teach? Like I know you talk about like clearing your mind and things like that. When I was younger, like I said, I read a book about like the book was telling me like to empty my mind of all its thoughts, and like it was a yoga book. Is that something that you kind of teach?
I mean, what do you think about that, emptying your mind? Is it really possible?
Not really. I tried, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it is possible.
Yeah,
our thoughts are so naughty, aren't they? I mean, they come and go, and we think random thoughts, and sometimes we're like, why am I even thinking that thought? And I wish
Is that something that you pursue though in your class, like to empty your mind, or in other yoga classes around the world? Would they like encourage you to like empty your mind if it's possible? Like if it's possible.
Such a beautiful question, because I think there is a misunderstanding around that whole idea of, I wish my mind would be quiet. I'm going to try and empty my mind, or I'm not very good at meditating, And so I think we've all had thoughts like that. And I would say that the purpose is not to empty your mind, but simply to notice your thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
So simply noticing your thoughts gives you the space you need to change the conditions in your mind for transformation. It's pretty powerful. So I think the first part is compassion. Like, it's okay, I'm thinking these crazy thoughts. It's okay, I'm human.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong or flawed with you. And then interesting. Isn't that interesting? My mind is still thinking about that to-do list. Getting curious. There it is again, thinking about the to-do list again and again. And so that's the practice. We notice without judgment. So it's not good or bad.
I see.
So, you can go easy on yourself. You don't have to empty your mind. You don't have to empty your mind. I don't know that that's a really good objective. I think we'd feel like we're failing if that was our objective.
I see.
Yeah.
And then, like, do you, like, kind of focus on, like, replacing the negative or the worrying thoughts with, like, positive thoughts or, like...
Beautiful. Yeah, there's many different practices, and one of my favourite practices, in fact, I do it at the end of every class to make sure people go away feeling feeling a beautiful lightness of heart is gratitude. So it's sort of thrown around that word, but our ability to grow the good within us and notice everyday ordinary experiences and really soak them up so we feel a sense of positivity, because we all have what you might have heard of is our negativity bias. The fact that we seem to notice what hasn't gone well in our day.
Yeah.
And so...
or you always remember like the negative comments someone said to you, but you never remember like the 100 like nice comments they said. That's how our brain kind of works, eh? Or
that's right.
Our memory or whatever.
Yeah, so a beautiful practice for all of us is, well, first of all, know that our awareness is like a torch or a flashlight. And this is from one of my teachers, Sri Kumara Rao. So he says, your awareness is like a flashlight. When you shine a flashlight on something, it illuminates it. So when you shine your torch on something, it illuminates it. So if you shine your torch on that person who annoyed you, you keep reinforcing that story. If you shine your torch on what went well in your day, or even the fact that, oh, that person's probably going through a hard time, somehow offering compassion or just something else that's positive, even the fact that we might have had a meal or a roof over our head.
Yeah.
We're doing better than most people in the world, so we can be grateful for that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing that we can rewire our brain for the better through practice.
It's like refocusing, eh?
Yeah. It's the neuroplasticity of the brain.
Things always get bigger when we focus on something, eh? They always become bigger.
Yes.
In our perception.
Yes. And so I used to have quite a strong inner critic. And I used to be really hard on myself and think, I didn't do, like at the end of a day of work, I just noticed everything I could have done better at. And so over many years and through some people who have really inspired me and through being really thirsty for a better way of living, I've been training myself, every day, what did I do well? Even that simple question, what did I do well? Simple. So many of us have quite low self-worth. And so a simple question, what did I do well? Even just turning up. And today was hard, but I turned up.
Yeah. I do mean today, like...
Not today. This is a joy.
I thought you were like here today.
Oh, crack up. That's funny. I did have to rush a little bit to get here, but it wasn't that hard.
Rain, eh?
You make it nice, so thank you.
Thanks.
In the rain. It's a good day for an inside interview.
Yeah, totally. Just if you want to, you don't have to say it. But have you had any spiritual experiences or like life-changing experiences in your yoga practice? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't personally think I've had any like major awakening moment. Yeah. Some people talk of that. For me, the whole process has been transformative. So everything I've shared today has really transformed my life and it all started with, first of all, going through challenge and then realizing that, if I focus on retraining my thoughts, I can live a whole better life. So that in itself is so transformative, knowing that, we have this ability within us to live a more inspiring life simply by thinking different thoughts, focusing on something that's positive, something inspiring, and how we can, bring something that's meaningful to the world. So, I would say that the last sort of 12 years, the whole process, and it's still evolving. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah. I'm ready for more challenges.
Yeah. Talking to you today, I really enjoyed it.
Likewise. Your questions are really great.
I'm glad that you didn't find them too blunt.
I like blunts.
That's so cool.
Yeah, bring it on.
I like how you're so like authentic as well. Like you're quite open and real to speak to, because I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's really meaningful. Yeah, I really believe who you are is, the most important thing, not what you do, what you achieve.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Thank you for those comments, and I feel the same. So thanks for bringing out some of my true essence today.
Yeah. Are you more introverted or extrovert? I know people use that as like you said, you like your alone time. Do you find that you need to make sure that you have your alone time because Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think even introverts need some interaction, and even extroverts need some alone time. So yeah, I would say just getting to know myself more as a sensitive soul. I've learned I need a lot of time. I call it in my own company, because I've learned to like myself.
It's cool.
And so we all know that when we're around people that aren't aligned to our values, it can be really draining. You know that feeling when you think it's going to be a good catch up and later you're exhausted? So the more I noticed that over the years, the more I realised actually I top up my own cup through usually in my own company or, less than a handful of people actually I would call close friends. I don't think we need a lot. It's more about quality than quantity. So I know there's lots of narrative in our society around connect, and sure we need connection, but the most important connection is the one we have with ourselves.
That's cool. And one question I was going to ask about your book. Do you mind quickly, just not quickly, but like say what you? Sorry, I don't want you to rush through it, but like what you're going to write about in the next 6 months.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, pretty much a lot of. I've touched on some of it today.
Yeah.
So it'll be about breaking free of the caged life.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, living in alignment to your truth. So not in alignment to what society says is a good life. But I think this is what people are really thirsty for, is how do we feel more joy and fulfillment and connection to ourselves and others. And it takes courage. It takes looking outside of the options presented to you. It takes a leap of faith. And so I'll be talking to some of my own experiences as well as the wisdom I've been studying and the science that helps give it a bit of substance.
That's cool. It was nice to have you on today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you for listening to Voices Unhindered. It's great hearing from my listeners. Reach out with questions and comments through Insta or Facebook. Just search for Voices Unhindered. I'm interested to know what other topics and voices you'd like me to bring on the show. Join me every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. on Plains FM 96.9. You can find past episodes at plainsfm.org.nz and subscribe to Voices Unhindered on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to never miss an episode.